Over the past few weeks, I've been on a mission to try to show you the cheapest new pickup trucks that I could find. And in my last video, I thought I found it by showing you this cheap Chevy work truck that had 4 doors and was full size, but also 4x4. It ended up being like $39,000 after a huge dealer discount. But some of you guys in the comments told me that it wasn't a real truck and there's more cheaper options out there. And because I made like some stipulations, like it had to be 4 doors and all this other stuff, that it wasn't really a fair shot at finding the cheapest truck. And I think some of those comments are pretty fair points to make. So in today's video, we're gonna look at some trucks that are even cheaper and trucks that some of you guys say are actual real trucks. And then I also found a truck that I think is the cheapest, like absolute of any truck, depending on your definition of truck, but the absolute cheapest truck that you can buy from any manufacturer in any trim level and in any size. So we're not just gonna look at the larger trucks for this video, we're also gonna look at some of the mid-size to smaller trucks to see what is the absolute bottom dollar cheapest truck that you can find anywhere. And you're probably gonna be surprised that it's not any of these Chevys behind me this time. Like the last video, the Chevy was the cheapest, but I found one even cheaper. And I want to start here where we ended the last video at Chevy, because we're going to start at the bottom of the cheapest and then go even cheaper from there. And in my last video, the cheapest truck that I found was that white Chevy kind of WT work spec truck at $39K, like I said before. But you guys said a work truck just needs to be 2 doors with a long bed. And right here, I got a whole row of Chevy work trucks, 2 doors, with a long bed to show you something that you might find pretty interesting when it comes to the pricing on these things. And a big note, it's actually not as cheap as you think it would be compared to the 4-door. So we're gonna jump right into it. This is the same spec basically as that 4-door work truck. Steel wheels, plastic everything, a little bit of chrome on the front. And there's 2 big differences between that white work truck that had 4 doors and this work truck here that just has 2 doors and a long bed. And obviously it's right in front of you. This one has 2 doors and a long bed. The other one did not have a long bed at all. So if you want just a basic truck with a long bed, this is pretty much what you're looking at here. And it's as basic as you can get. They don't even have a bed liner on here. They do have a plastic liner here on the tailgate that keeps it from getting scratched up. And you actually get a little outlet in the back right there, which is kind of cool. But it's probably not gonna be as cheap as you think. And honestly, not even close to what you think it's gonna be. Like in your head, you're probably thinking, that's 28 grand, think more. Right here on the window sticker, this is a 2025 1500 WT spec 4-wheel drive with the V8 and a 10-speed, which is pretty nice. And that 10-speed actually is gonna help you a lot when you're towing to keep it in the power band, or if you've got a truck bed full of stuff. But this is the shocker here. Remember, after discount, that 4-door one with the shorter bed was $39,000. This one is $47,605, and that's before any manufacturer discount or dealer discount. And let me show you what that brings it down to. You're looking at $37,355 after all of the discounts for this truck. And that's only about $2,000 less than the one with 4 doors. So even though this is just a smaller basic work truck, that's probably the cheapest full-size one that you can find. Maybe I might have one that is less as far as 2-door work trucks goes. And something I thought that was interesting here at Chevy is if you wanted a work truck and you needed a diesel and you needed to fit some people in it, the prices just jump up like crazy. We've got a Duramax diesel here with the Allison transmission, and it is in a high country trim. And the price of this probably might not surprise you. It's a 2025 3500 high country 4-wheel drive. It's going to run you $91,195. But hey, at least you get a bed liner for that 90 grand. So as you can see, the trucks get pretty expensive really quickly. Another example is this 2500 HD, also with a Duramax and an Allison transmission in a Z71 trim, and it's going to run you $68,640. So I hope if you're buying a work truck and you need something that big that you've got a lot of work down the pipeline. Now I just found something interesting here. And as far as the 2500 HD, I think this is as basic of a work truck spec of this that you can get. It's got the steelies, it's got the basic plastic on the front, a little bit of chrome down there. No side steps, no add-ons. They don't even have a bed liner in here. And it's gonna run you $55,805 with the V8 engine and the 10-speed Allison transmission. So once you pull that diesel motor out, you take a lot of the options off the table, it drops down under $60,000 into the mid 50s. So this is pretty much the work truck section of the Chevy dealership. I want to show you another option that if you wanted something that you use to work, but you also want to daily driver it. And remember, this was $37,355 with the discounts. And I want to show you another option here at Chevy that could be used as a work truck slash daily driver that a lot of people forget about when it comes to Chevy. And that would be the Chevy Colorado. And there's a couple of different things that I want to point out with the Chevy Colorado that I think is pretty neat. And it's actually good that I'm here to show you these Colorados because they have a couple of different trim levels. And just like a lot of other dealerships right now, they are just stacked with trucks. And so the options are kind of unlimited, unlike a year ago when it was really hard to find trucks. So you'll have options like this Z71 right here in white, all the way up to like a Turbo Max ZR2 in this black one, and this really cool kind of stonish brown gray color right here. It's hard to tell because of the sun, but I think it's kind of neat. And they've got a few other Z71s sitting on this side. But I'm not really here to talk too much about the ZR1 because this is the most expensive that you can get. And we're really looking for cheap trucks here. But just a quick glance, this Colorado here in the ZR2 is $53,720 MSRP. But they do have a little bit of a discount, bringing it to $52,470. So the discount's not very high. And then if you jump down to like a Z71, like this white one here, it drops about $8,000. So with a discount of just $1,000, MSRP is $45,390, and you can get it for $44,145. So if you need to hold more than 2 people and you're not concerned about having a very large bed, a Colorado is probably a pretty good option because you're not going to find a full-size truck for around that price. But I want to check and see if they have like a lower trim level, more like a work truck spec of the Colorado, because I know that should probably be cheaper than the full-size 2-door truck. But one issue is I don't think they have a 2-door version of the Colorado. These are all full-size, all the way down here and all the way over here. And as I'm walking, I don't see any of the lower trim level Colorados whatsoever. But if you're crazy and you have money to burn, you can always buy this EV Silverado for a ridiculous $91,995. And these are selling so slowly, I thought this was interesting, that they're offering 0% for 60 months. And they're pointing out that, hey, there's 0 cost for fuel. Well, duh, because it's fully electric. So as you can see, the cheapest that we're getting at Chevy with a full-size work truck in that 2-door was around $37,000. And then the Colorados were a few thousand more than that. But there's another cheaper truck that I think a lot of people just kind of sleep on and honestly forget about, because I think it's the best bang for your buck and also one of the most reliable cheaper trucks that you can buy right now. You know, I spend a lot of time driving to car dealerships, walking around car dealerships, and running away from car salesmen trying to sell me their overpriced vehicles. But I can get away from them a lot faster now thanks to today's sponsor, Electric E-Bikes. This electric e-bike is so fun to ride, and I think it's the best way to get around town when the weather's nice and gas prices are too high. The Electric XP is the best-selling e-bike in America, and with it starting at just $799, it's the perfect budget-friendly e-bike for the explorer who loves saving money. I was skeptical about e-bikes at first, but after riding this all over town the past week, I've been having a blast with this thing. It's just so much more fun and easy to ride than I really expected. Electric has e-bikes for everyone in the family, from the passenger-ready Expedition Cargo e-bike to the ultra-accessible XP Trike. Getting started on your electric e-bike adventures is easier than ever. Your electric e-bike ships free, comes fully assembled, and is foldable for easy travel and storage anywhere you go. 5 levels of pedal assist and a twist grip throttle make it easy to ride as fast or as slow as you're comfortable with. Click the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen to check out their rides. Add a bike cover to your order and get it for free with code MOTORFEED at checkout. So for the next cheaper truck on here that's going to be less than that full-size one, I hope, I'm here at Nissan because there's a truck here that pretty much gets forgotten about, I think, right now, and it's one of the best mid-size trucks that you could actually buy. And that's going to obviously be the Nissan Frontier, because you can't get a Titan anymore. That's pretty much dead in the water now. You're not going to find any new 2025s anywhere at all pretty much. So when it comes to Nissan and their trucks, the only option you have left is going to be the Frontier. And I don't know why this gets forgotten about as much as it does, because this is probably one of the best midsize trucks that you can buy right now. And that's for actually quite a lot of reasons. First of all, the design is really, really clean, no matter what trim level you look at. This two-door one with a little bit of an extended cab, the front end just looks so nice. And then you step up all the way here to a Pro 4X and it just looks even cooler. So no matter what trim level you get of a Frontier, they're all gonna look really good. It's a clean and simple design, but also looks modern at the same time, and honestly was probably one of the best updates to one of the midsize trucks in recent history. This is, of course, in my opinion, obviously. But I think it really brought the Frontier to a bit of an elevated level, and the price didn't get too crazy either, especially for one of the lower trim levels. Now, obviously, trucks are pretty overpriced no matter where you go, but we get what we get. So I want to look at this. This looks like one of the least expensive Frontiers that you can find here, parked right next to one of the most expensive Frontiers that you can get, the Pro 4X. So I want to see how much a Pro 4X is really fast. And honestly, this color is pretty awesome. So I don't see any discounts in the window. And this only has one add-on. And if you're going to have any add-ons, this is really the only one that makes any sense at all. This one has window tint added on for $200, which honestly is not crazy. It's probably one of the most reasonable add-ons that I've ever seen. I don't normally advocate for any add-ons, but window tint is kind of nice, and $200 is pretty normal. So that brings it from an MSRP of $48,390 to $48,589. And I bet they do have discounts because Nissan is just one of the brands that is struggling so hard right now that they've got to have discounts. I'm just assuming they don't have it put in the window, because last time I was here, they did have a few $1,000s off of these Frontiers. That was like 6 months ago. But does it get cheaper, and how low does it go? And I don't know how fair of a comparison this is to Chevy, because they had like $7,000 off marked on the truck in the window. But this is a pretty basic spec right here. It's a two-door, not a four-door, and it looks like it's a 2024 in four-wheel drive automatic with the V6. Now, another perk that I think is a perk of the Frontier, and one of the reasons why I'm like not really sure people forget about it, is brands like Toyota and Ford have moved to turbo 4 cylinders. Well, the Nissan Frontier still gets a 3.8 liter V6 engine with 310 horsepower and 981 foot-pounds of torque, and this 9-speed auto that's in here makes that power feel like it's always constantly there. So you have a more reliable, robust V6 engine that is easy for most people to work on. And a lot of the newer trucks switching to turbos and hybrids and all this stuff, it's just so complicated and a lot harder to work on. And there's a mechanic that does reviews on trucks, and he did a full breakdown. I think it was like an hour-long video of the Nissan Frontier, and he just said it was absolutely one of the best trucks you can buy mechanically. But how much is this one? Before any discounts, you're looking at $36,670. And a work truck doesn't have to be huge. I've seen a lot of Frontiers and honestly other smaller pickup trucks used for work trucks. But the interesting thing is $36,000 puts this Frontier right at the same price as that full-size truck with the long bed and four-wheel drive. And I'm just gonna assume here, shot in the dark, and if there is a discount on the website for the dealership, I'll just put it right here. But I'm gonna assume there is some sort of discount off of MSRP, because every dealer has discounts nowadays, and if you don't have a discount, you're really just not being competitive right now. But I think if you're looking for a mid-sized truck, you should definitely take a look at the Frontier, and don't forget about it. It's mechanically sound, easy to work on, super reliable. It's a good looking truck, especially in some of these different colors, and you would help save a brand that none of us really want to see disappear. They just gotta figure a few things out. And so far, the Nissan Frontier, as far as MSRP goes, at $36,000, that's the cheapest one that I have found so far. But there's a couple more that I think might be even less. So the next cheaper truck that I want to talk about, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this thing, because while it's newer and updated, there's some good things and some questionable things with it. Let's just say questionable. And that's going to be the newly designed Tacoma. Now, some people think this is a really good design and it's better than the outgoing one, and others will say that they just don't like it as much. But as far as looks goes, I think it's a pretty big win. I think the updated design looks a bit more aggressive, a bit more modern, while still keeping to the simplicity that Toyota has always been known for. Where this truck goes away from being simple, reliable Toyota is under the hood here. And that's going to be the new iForce 2.4 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine made into an 8-speed automatic. Toyota has always been known for being the most reliable vehicles that you can buy, the highest quality, and some of the easiest to work on. But now that they transitioned to some of these 4-cylinder turbo motors, or even the 6-cylinder turbo motor in the new Tundra, they've gone from being the reliable, everyday man's, easy to work on truck to something that is more complicated, has more problems, and you have to take to the dealer a lot more, because with the mess of hoses and wires under there, it's just not as easy to work on as something like this Tundra with the 5.7 liter V8, or even the outgoing Tacoma with the V6 engine. And honestly, this front end wasn't even really dated. I think it looks pretty cool. And with the wheels too, that's pretty sweet. This one's got 30,000 miles. It's a 23 for $43,995. I want to actually compare it to like the price of a new one. Obviously, a new one's always going to be more. There's some depreciation in a used one, but the new ones can be a little bit pricey, but they do come down quite a bit from the top tier trim levels. So this one right here is a TRD Sport in a nice blue color. I hate that down there. It looks pretty stupid. You can see this one has it taken off. Way better, in my opinion, without that lip down there, or air dam as you call it. But how much is a TRD Sport? For this 4x4 2025, obviously with the 4-cylinder turbo, it's a crazy $53,044. Now again, we're talking about before any discounts, but as far as these mid-size trucks go, a lot of the dealers don't have the discounts in the window that we're going to, like the full-size trucks in the last video, so we're just gonna take it as it is with MSRP. But they do get substantially less than that $53,000, $51,000 mark, and I did find pretty much the cheapest Tacoma that you're gonna find, and it's gonna be a 4-door, non-4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive. This SR5 basic white Toyota spec that you can get, not a lot of bells and whistles. It does actually have a tow package, which is kind of nice. And obviously the composite liner and everything in here for the bed is pretty cool as well. Remember that full-size truck didn't have a bed liner, so you're just gonna scratch it to crap. So this is about as cheap as it goes that I can find, at least on this lot. 2025 ice cap white. I don't know if tariffs are going to affect this later down the road. We'll just have to wait and see. 4-cylinder turbo, still 8-speed, and like I said, 2-wheel drive, not 4. You're looking at $38,984. So far, between that Frontier, the full-size 2-door long bed Chevy and 4-wheel drive, and this Tacoma, we're right about $37,000, $38,000, and so far nothing has been cheaper. There is one truck that is newly updated and they fixed a lot of issues with it, and it is probably the cheapest new truck that you're going to find out of any size, out of any trim level, from any manufacturer, and I want to show you that right now. So I want to make a quick stop here at Ram before I show you this cheap new truck, because the title of this video says that this cheap new truck, you know, totally killed, totally destroyed Chevy and Ram. And I have to go here to Ram because I want to show you why Ram is just not as competitive anymore, and how most of the other manufacturers are really kind of killing off this truck. And one of the big reasons is because Ram, I don't think, has any cheap, affordable trucks anymore. And I want to show you a couple of quick examples as to why I say this. So we've got this 2500 heavy duty Ram right here. Like the Chevy, it has 2 doors and a long bed that everyone looks for in something they would consider a work truck. Obviously this is a heavy duty truck, but this is what I have to look at. So this is a 2025 Tradesman regular cab, four-wheel drive with the long box. And the price of this truck will probably blow your mind. It has a 6.4 liter V8 and an 8-speed automatic transmission. That's gonna run you $64,085 for this thing. And it's not even a diesel. And honestly, the interior is super basic. You get a screen and some leather, but other than that, not much else. And when you're looking at this compared to the V8, and when you compare this to that four-door Chevy that we saw in my last video for around $39,000, this is just not a good option. So as far as like what any one of us would consider a cheap work truck on the lot here at Ram, they just don't have any in the full size. And another problem with Ram, you know, back when it was Dodge, they had the Dakota. So Ram, Dodge used to have a mid-size truck that people who couldn't afford the full-size one, they actually have an option to where they could still be loyal to the Dodge brand, loyal to the Ram brand, and they could buy a mid-size truck that was more affordable. But now Ram, you only have big trucks. They don't have any mid-size options. And so I feel like Ram is just now for people with deeper pockets at this point. And so with that said about Ram, that finally brings us full circle to the absolute cheapest truck that you could find. And let's finally get to that right now. So this may come as a surprise to you, or maybe it doesn't, but believe it or not, the cheapest truck that you can buy from any manufacturer right now is at Ford. And I think it's interesting that this cheap truck is at Ford because this comes at a time where Ford prices have just gone up at such a fast pace that they have to discount them 10 grand, 15 grand just to get rid of some of the F-150s right now. And the F-150 is for sure not the cheapest new truck that you can buy right now. It was the second cheapest full-size one, if you looked at my last video, but it's not the cheapest of the cheap. And that is going to be the Ford Maverick. I don't know if you've seen the Ford Maverick or heard of the Ford Maverick yet, but as far as vehicles that are a truck or truckish, has four doors, and has a truck bed with a tailgate, this little baby Maverick is the absolute cheapest truck that you can find, bar none, anywhere on this planet. Actually, I take that back. It's not the cheapest you can find anywhere on this planet because Toyota has a little truck that's like 10 or 15 grand, but unfortunately, we don't get that truck, and it's body on frame too, and it's pretty cool, and it's super cheap, but we don't get that. This is what we have here. We've got the Maverick. So how much will a Maverick run you, and what makes it the cheapest truck? Well, for comparison, here's a Lariat that I just want to compare with the Lariat. So a Lariat Maverick actually has some really nice brown leather interior, which I like this color. This is a 2024. It is all-wheel drive, 2-liter EcoBoost in an 8-speed auto. You're looking at $39,940. So that puts it below the F-150, puts it below the Ranger in price. But again, that is a higher trim level Lariat. But I think we're gonna find the cheapest one in one of these base model XL, white spec, plastic everything, in Steelies, which honestly, I like Steelies. You can never go wrong with a good Steely. But I think we're gonna come way, way down in price here. This is an XL, but it still has the all-wheel drive, 2-liter EcoBoost and the 8-speed. And this time we're finally getting under 30 grand for a truck. This is $23,920 is the base price of this truck. But you're gonna be hard pressed to find one of these for $23,000 to $24,000 or even under 25 because there's always some options that are added before. And what they added here was like the electronic equipment group for $2,200, the tow package for $745, and Ford Copilot 360, which is like a driving system. I don't know the details of that, honestly, but $650, bringing it all the way, plus their destination and delivery of almost $1,600, bringing this $24,000 truck up to $29,180. However, there is one that is less expensive. As I've gone down this row, I found one that is less expensive. And honestly, it's probably gonna be the cheapest that you can find on the lot. We just gotta walk down here a little bit, and it's this one right here. And this is as cheap of a Maverick that I've found so far on any dealer lots. Again, XL with the Steelies, with just front wheel drive. So it's not driven by the rear wheels. It's not all-wheel drive. It's only spinning those front wheels right there. Starts at $23,920 like the rest. Got a bunch of engine options. This is actually an option for the engine for $1,750. So these could get even cheaper if you did not do the hybrid engine, but it's still the least expensive one and the cheapest truck I could find anywhere at $28,015. I think our dreams of getting a sub $20,000 truck in America are dead. I don't know if that's going to be even possible anymore. The only way we might get in that realm of 15 grand is if Toyota brings in their $10,000 truck, and then maybe we got to pay some import duties or taxes or whatever, bring it to 15. But if you want just a work truck, that Toyota would probably be pretty cool. But as far as the cheapest truck in the USA you can get right now, it's the Ford Maverick, and really anything above that, you might just want to grab a Frontier or just grab, you know, a full-size truck. There you go, the absolute cheapest truck that I could find anywhere in the United States as far as brand new vehicles goes. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate you watching so much. We recently passed 100,000 subscribers, and that's thanks to you watching and sharing and getting out this information. And again, if you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.